Hey, everybody. I am back, and it's Dr. Wilhelmina, and welcome to the Leadership Pro, where fairness meets leadership. Now, today's episode is going to stretch the way we usually think about leadership. We talk about being good leaders at work, setting the tone, managing people, getting results. But leadership doesn't check out when we leave work. Leadership shows up at home, it shows up in communities, and it's definitely showing up in how we follow others too. So let's get into what we're talking about today. Um, I want to talk about how leadership and followership both connect to our overall wellness and how leading well in every part of our life helps us live well too. So, in this, let's start with leadership at home and start where most of our stress begins, right? At home. Whether you live alone, have a full household, or you're balancing caregiving, family, or relationships, there's leadership happening there every day. At home, leadership looks like setting boundaries, creating peace, creating peace. Creating peace is a big one. You want peace in your home. And deciding how we respond when things are getting rough. It's being intentional. It's about energy we bring into our space. Home is sacred, so the energy we bring into there is very important. And you know what? Sometimes leadership at home also means following, listening to the people we love, giving them space to lead, and not always having to be the one in charge. That balance between leading and following with grace, that's wellness. And I can give you an example very easily in my home because I'm older than my husband, much older. And quite often I'm out there trying to be the leader, especially because I lead at work, no matter where I work. Leadership is big to me, whether I'm the titled leader or just informal leader. And I don't mean just, that's important, the informal leader. So when I come home, I'm trying to lead. It's been a long time. It's been just me. I'm not having to lead anybody but my child when she was young. So I'm the boss, or I think I am. But there are times when I need to step back and let my husband lead. There are things I may not be experienced in. He's from another country, so I don't always understand. And I need to step back and let him do his thing. And I do that. I'm getting better at it. So let's move on to the community. So let's step outside our doors. Our community needs healthy leaders and followers. And I've been talking about that for a little bit now. We need our leaders, but we also need our followers. Community leadership isn't always about uh, holding a title or running an organization. It's about showing up, volunteering, also encouraging someone who's doing good work. We don't do that enough. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate them, but we don't say it enough. It's about being the person who helps connect the dots and bring people together. Connection is a big deal in all types of arenas, especially when we're talking about relationships, supervisor to employee, husband to spouse, family relationships. It's very important to have that connection so that you can connect on what's important and maybe be on the same page. And if not on the same page, you can talk about not being on the same page without it being a fight or turning someone off from the family, the work, or the community. If you're overwhelmed, burnout, or spiritually drained, it's okay to step back and refill. Rest is not retreat. It's part of your sustainability of leadership. If you, like I always been saying, if your bucket is empty, you can't help others. You have to help yourself first and be well. So let's go to the workplace and then talk about some of that. We'll also talk about the how this all comes together. So where most of us think about leadership first is at work. Leadership here is about fairness, integrity, and accountability. But it's also about humanity. You remember who you're talking to, who you're dealing with when as a leader. And so if you're not that titled leader, it's still the same when you're talking about the informal leader. Remember, this is about humanity. It's about a team. A leader who listens and respects their team is building wellness right into the culture, how we interact with each other, how we live within the same spaces at work. And followers who bring ideas, honesty, and effort create balance. Everybody can't be the leader. And that is a shared wellness in motion. The healthiest workplaces are the ones where everyone leads a little and everyone follows with purpose, with intent. You know exactly what you're doing when you're following. So maybe a titled leader, might have to step back and work with someone they supervise. Maybe I've done that many times where I didn't have experience in whatever that area was because everybody has their specific duties that they do. And I may be a leader titled, but I may not have that experience. So I might have to step back and let that person take the lead and follow. Or if you're a team player and no one in your office has that experience, okay, it's your turn to step up and do that. But you got to be fair. You got to be honest. You got to be supportive. You got to have humanity in mind. You don't just go and run people over, while you're being that leader, because it's going to create unhealthy relationships. But you're a team. You need to be that team. So putting it all together. So when we talk about leading well and following well, I want you to think about all these spaces: the home, the community, and the workplace. Each one asks something different of us, but they all feed the same part of us: our sense of peace, purpose, and wellness. Those are our focus, pretty much. So take a moment this week to ask yourself, how am I leading in the home? How am I showing up in the community? And what kind of leader am I at work? Or follower? What kind of follower am I at work? When that's what's needed, you those are the things that you need to be focused on at work. Like, how am I doing? What kind of follower I am. So anyway, we're going to go to our outro now. Ooh, I'm dropping my computer. Hold on. I'm fixing it. Okay. Wellness and leadership aren't separate. They live together. Sometimes you're going to be a follower, sometimes you're going to be a leader. And when they balance both sides, we don't just lead better, we live better. Every time I say that sentence, I want to say we lead better, but we don't just lead better, we live better. So I am Dr. Wilhelmina, and I've had a good podcast. Thanks for spending the time with me. And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone you think who needs to hear it, or maybe need some more perspective. Also, remember, leadership isn't about control, it's about communication and connection. So lead with care, follow with wisdom, and take good care of yourself. way. I'm Dr. Wilhelmina, and this is the Leadership Pro, where fairness meets leadership. Thank you for listening. Take care.